welcome to another edition of Scott Wheeler's Airplay. It is episode number 16, so we're going strong. Airplay can be seen on Peoria Life's web portal. You can see it on Facebook, of course, YouTube under Peoria Life, or on Peoria TV, that's channel 17 on the i3 broadband system, and we will share it, of course, on my Facebook page and my guest's Facebook page. And my guest today has been hosting the morning show, co-hosting on 104.9 The Wolf since 2006. You can hear him every morning for his wit and his heart, which is exemplified probably in no better way than the thousands of dollars he has raised for the kids of St. Jude with the Country Cares for Kids Radiothon he does every year. Welcome to Airplay, Mr. John Young.
It's great to see you.
Great
Thanks for
to have
having me.
you.
This is awesome. Number 16, Joe Montana. I love that number.
You would know
Yep.
because you are from Central California, right?
Yeah, Bay Area, little town called, I went to Seaside, but it's basically Monterey. Most people know Monterey if they think of Pebble Beach.
Man,
Yeah.
it's beautiful out
Rough,
there.
yeah. It's really rough having to live out there. But yeah, I've been excited about doing this. I was supposed to come in a couple of times, and I'm glad we finally were able to get it done.
Yeah, and just so you know, for those of you who were expecting to see Jamie, John's co-host, she's not feeling well today, so we will have her back or both of them back in a future edition of Airplay. So did radio start for you in California as well?
It started, I went to, this was right just before the Olympics in Atlanta in 96.
Yeah.
So I was there in 95. And I was going to go to music school. And I didn't, when I got there, because I wanted to teach guitar. And I just didn't really like the format. So I'd already dragged at the time my wife out there 3,000 miles away. And I couldn't look her in the eye and say, I don't want to do this. So I always loved radio. I always got a kick out of it. And so I went to broadcasting school and got hired back in Monterey County.
Okay.
So that's where it started, May of 96.
Okay.
Yeah, so I escaped the Olympic crowd in Atlanta.
Good,
I was not only considered a Yankee in Atlanta, I was also considered a transplant Yankee, which was really offensive to the good folks of Atlanta and Norcross. So yeah, but I love it. It's been my entire job for 23 years now.
Now, do you still, I know the answer to this, but do you still mess around on the guitar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love to play. I love to sing. Actually, before I got into radio, I kind of made my living doing stand-up.
Really?
Yeah.
So what was that like? Did you do in the clubs and that whole circuit in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I did a couple little TV things. And when I was a kid, kind of like a parlor trick, my mom would always have me come out and do voices or impressions. I started really young with a terrible Ronald Reagan. I think I was like 8 years old. And
I would have loved it.
well, my fellow Americans. So once I got through the voice changing and all that and was able to mature a little bit.
Then it sounded like Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it was a little better. So I did that. I kicked around LA and for about 5 years and then got into radio.
What's the biggest misconception about stand-up comedy? Because we see it, and I'm sure it's probably, it looks so easy. You just go out there and be funny. I'm funny.
Yeah, the great part about it is that it's instant gratification.
Yes, which is different from radio.
Yeah, because you hope that you're making people laugh, but you're not sure. But in comedy, if you're hitting a home run, you know it. And if you're whiffing bad, you know it. Yeah, so it's like, I still have 12 minutes, guys. You need to roll with me a little bit. So yeah, but I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of great friends. I realized just how talented some of those folks are. I mean, they were next level. I thought I was okay, or halfway decent. They're guys and women just brilliant.
Well, it's like professional athletics, musicians. There are so many great knocking it out of the park people that it was when people say, well, I'm thinking of getting into music. You want to encourage them, but you want to say, and you hear them and they're great, but are they great.
Right.
And just the timing of it all and so forth.
I'll tell you what, to me, YouTube and Facebook have changed the game. I got humbled quickly. I used to think, well, I do some great voices, and I just don't think there's a lot of people out there in my own head. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that can do what I do until you see a million different videos of people doing it as well or better. And you're like, oh, that's pretty humbling. That's pretty humbling.
Yeah.
So, but I had a good time while I was doing it.
Were you on these TV shows, anything we would recognize? Was it the America's Got Talent of the day or what?
No, it was kind of like VH1 Stand-Up Spotlight.
Okay.
Arsenio.
You were on Arsenio?
Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrifying, but you know, it was. I had a great time doing it.
There's so much preparation that goes into that too, because it seems so off the cuff.
Right.
But
they don't realize the hundreds and hundreds of hours of practicing that routine to make it look effortless. There's maximum effort to make it look effortless on screen.
Even body language and facial expression to be in the right place when you're telling that joke.
That's why you have the legends like Seinfeld. There's a guy that comes to town often, Brian Regan, who I just think is fantastic. Brilliant mind, can work clean, and everything else. But you know, I asked him about it. He goes, it takes me, 100 hours to nail down 12 minutes. And he's a headliner now, but yeah, it was fun.
So back to radio, you're back in California after the Atlanta experience. How many different stations did you work at out there?
Much to my mom's delight, I got hired by like the Heritage Country station out there doing weekends. And, back then it was every time the phone rang, you're praying this radio station, they need you, every holiday. Yeah. So I did country, I did top 40 for a while. So I think I did 3 different stations in 10 years there. And then I've been here at the Wolf for 13.
2006, I remember it well. I hired John, and then I promptly left.
And I was bummed.
He walks in the door. Oh, no, that was a bad idea. See ya. No, not really.
Yeah, no, that was awesome to get. We got flown in here. They treated us to a Nickelback concert. I mean,
wow.
It didn't get any better than that.
And you still came.
Yeah. I'm an unapologetic Nickelback fan, so I will admit that. But that was an interesting, and I had come right after the WXCL had done their St. Jude Radiothon, and I just come off of mine in Monterey, and again, that's just a near and dear. Yeah. I think to a lot of people's heart, especially having an affiliate in town. They're such a great organization, but yeah, and that's one of the things I had actually asked. Are we affiliated with a children's hospital with St. Jude? And I was really happy about that.
So. That means you've been doing one ever since you got here. You just did your 13th then, or
13th here, and I did 8 of them in California. And the last one we did, and this is Monterey. They're not very familiar with St. Jude, so it was kind of easy to get the message across. We're here every weekend. There's a St. Jude event,
right?
So it's saturated. Not a bad thing, but it's harder when you're trying to raise money during a radiothon. And we did 191,000 our last one at in Monterey, and I said if we get to 200, I'm going to get a St. Jude tattoo, and we got close. So I went and got one.
Attaboy.
I went and got one. It's my favorite tattoo. It's like a badge of honor. And a few years ago, I had actually crossed the $1 million raised threshold overall for all the years I've been doing it. But still, that's
awesome.
It's a great organization.
Yeah, and so many people are familiar with it, and the why you do it is pretty obvious. But those kids are just amazingly special, and just the fact that they can go to Memphis or even start here in Peoria and not spend a dime, that blows me away.
I know, and I've been dealing with cancer myself, having been diagnosed with kidney cancer, and I heard that. And this is from an oncologist, and I'm in my mid 40s, and I heard that, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear anything after that. He kind of turned into Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 and I'm mentally checking out at that point. I was terrified, so I can't imagine having to explain to a child that you're sick, and then the strength that mom and dad have to put forward to deal with that as well. So my heart is 100% with those families.
You've been very open about your recent cancer diagnosis. So where we at? Take us back to what it is, and how are you doing? I'm glad you're here, standing, talking to me.
I am, and I'm upright. It was, it started out with a back thing. I had recently had back surgery. And they kind of found the kidney cancer by accident because they're doing a scan on my back. So it was really the bane of my existence, which had been my back, kind of turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Okay. Because they caught the cancer early. And the numbers are super in my favor. Great. So I'm feeling really blessed about that. It's something that we can take care of relatively. I don't want to say nothing's easy about it, but it's not invasive. 10 years ago, they told me they would have had to remove the kidney.
Wow.
Now they don't have to do that. They have something called cryoablation, where they just needles, they freeze it, kills the thing, and you're good to go. So I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking, and thank you for you've been so amazing and supportive through all of this as well. I'm humbled by the outpouring here. My whole goal when I got here, I wanted to have a heritage show. I wanted to be around for a long, long time. I didn't have my eyes on other markets and stuff like that. I wanted to be here. And I was told early on by one of our colleagues, John, he said, you're going to have to earn it. This is Midwest, blue collar. You're going to have to earn every fan that you get. And he was right, but I feel like I put equity into the station, and I'm getting it back through the outpouring of love and support from the listeners.
It's an amazing community in that regard. And once you're in, they will never let you go. Yeah. Even if you don't live here, they won't let you go.
Yeah, I told our boss, I said, I feel like I'm a made guy. In mob terms, I'm a made guy. So. Yeah. So
talk to me about country music a little bit and how it might be a little unique in Peoria. Here's the first thing I want to know. It does go through cycles. It's one of those music genres that does. I remember back in the 90s when Garth and Alan Jackson came along, they were viewed as the new country, and the traditional country listeners balked at that.
Right.
Now, Alan Jackson and Garth Brooks are more the traditional genre of country. And now as new artists come along, help me out here, the Keith Urbans and those folks.
Well, you have Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan, Florida Georgia Line.
Now they're like, give us our challenge. So you're constantly having to deal with that schism between the traditional and the new. I would assume that's true here in Peoria.
Oh yeah, you were right on. It's cyclical for sure. That when I started in country in '96, and the biggest names on the planet: Garth Brooks, Vince Gill, Clint Black, Shania Twain, Reba, and now you're hard pressed to hear any of those guys anymore. And so, and then they kind of gave way to the early aughts of that crop of artists, and then all of a sudden you had the new guys. Some people call them the pretty boys, like Aldean and Luke Bryan, come up. Now, Keith Urban's been around since 2000.
Sure.
So he's been around almost 20 years. Rascal Flatts have been around for 20 years, but they still sound fresh. But yeah, it's I get emails at the station all the time.
Why do you play?
I miss the good old days. I'm like, well, that's the whole thing. I mean, when Johnny Cash first started, he was a rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't country, and he wasn't country until he was.
Yeah.
So everyone they have their favorite era. Like the class. I always call it the class of '89, but that was Garth, Clint Black, Vince Gill, Travis Tritt, Alan Jackson, and every one of them became superstars.
Wow.
And they all made their debut in '89, and then you get new blood kind of filtering in, and some people kick down the door with a huge hit, and then you don't hear from them again. So yeah, I think right now we're in that kind of weird, it's kind of a pop country.
Yeah.
But Alabama was almost considered pop country when there's a song called Love in the First Degree.
Yep.
And they used electric drums and people are like,
What are
you doing? No.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's cyclical. It'll be different 5 years from now. So we just have to kind of keep an open mind about what's considered country. There's a lot of cross-pollination too with some of the artists.
Well, but it keeps it fresh. I mean, you're always dealing with a new injection of energy with the changes in the production and so forth. I think that's kind of cool.
I do too, and it's not, I love what we play now, and people think that I'm intentionally not playing stuff. It's not that. It's just kind of what we're number one for new country, meaning the new stuff that comes out, we like to be on top of.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I love the 90s. I love the 90s. And, my mom took a little while to come around to that because she grew up George Jones and Keith Whitley and all those guys.
Yeah.
But she heard Clint Black and she heard Garth and she's like, okay, I can deal with this. It's pretty good. It just takes a little while to come around.
Yeah.
It's what's hot in 2019 and 2024 might be a completely different story. So, we just kind of roll with it.
So what would be next if we had cowboy hats then baseball caps? What will be the next hat? That's what I'm really worried about.
And I'd like to see the tennis visor come back.
There you go.
Especially, remember the neon ones with the cellophane? How about that? If they brought that back, man, that'd be a look. That would be a look for sure.
So when you're not doing radio, what does John Young like to do?
I love to sing. I love to play guitar. I'm a big movie buff. Although I think I'm getting a little grumpy as I get older. I have less toleration for people talking in theaters and being on their phones.
Yeah.
And so I just, I'm more of a rental guy now. I used to see 5 movies a month. Now I see 1 movie every 5 months. And I love to read. So just kind of just hanging out. I get out when I can, talk to the folks and have a good time. But just kind of low key.
Yeah. Well, you have to be when you get up at 4 a.m. and B are on for 4 hours. You need a little rest.
Yeah, and as you know, we all wear different hats. There's the show, and then you take that hat off and put on. Then I become part of creative services and writing scripts and production and all that. It's funny. My mom used to say to me, you should join the military. And I said, Mom, they get up way too early. I showed her I'm up before the military. And it's like, I didn't think that one out too well.
So I bet since you've done country for so long that you've been a part of some pretty memorable concert experiences too. Can you think of one that blew you away, or you had a chance to meet somebody that the expectation and reality didn't meet, or they did, and you were blown away by that person in person?
I got a couple. Garth Brooks, I met him in California. And this is when when he tours, he's still a monster draw. But my morning show partner back then, he took us back there. He was in cargo shorts, had a ball cap, and he gave us a beer. He sat down, he talked to us for like 45 minutes, just he and I, and my morning show partner. And the humility coming off of that guy. It's like, I wanted to lean over to my buddy and go, does he know he's Garth Brooks? So I know he's Garth Brooks. So that was a great experience. And then I was at a Keith Urban show in Moline, because he's one of my all-time favorites. And I told him backstage, I said, look, I'll write you a check right now for $500 if I can get that Monkeyville guitar strap. The Monkeyville.
Oh, just the strap?
Yeah, that's his logo.
Okay.
And he said, you know what? If it's, he said, you got a tattoo, I'll give you a strap. And then he, in concert, when he was playing up in the stands, he actually acknowledged, I'm going to get your strap. Never got the strap. So he called like 3 years later. And of course, your boy here, I was on it. Like, yeah, kids, I hate to bring this up, but you are going to be in town. And we did have a conversation. He remembered. He goes, yeah, you have the tattoo. Oh, I owe you a strap. He goes, all right, are you coming backstage? And I said, I hope to. He said, well, whatever, we'll make sure it happens. I go back and he says, hold on a minute. He pulls the curtain and he comes out and he gives me a guitar.
No way.
An electric guitar. It's from the Urban line of guitars. And it said, hey, John, I feel like this kind of trumps a strap anyway.
Yeah.
Cheers and best wishes, Keith Urban.
Wow.
So I'm like, yeah. Can I get the strap too?
Yeah. But what about the strap?
Yeah. But that was really cool, and he's always gracious. And I've been really lucky that most of the folks I've met have been. I'm not going to say the ones that weren't all that nice, because I don't want it to taint anybody's view of them. But some of them have their superstar pants on and can't be bothered. And others are just like, they're so grateful. So, but country music and country music fans are a different breed.
Yeah.
And
very loyal.
Super loyal.
Yeah.
Super loyal. And I find that a lot. People are just so grateful to win tickets and to go backstage. You know, I've given backstage passes away that were mine because I've had the opportunity to meet these folks. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a lot of these folks. So they go back there and they freak out and they have a great time. And that's something they'll remember forever.
Yep.
Because country stars meet thousands of fans every year, but you may only get to meet your favorite country star once in a lifetime.
Right.
So that's a memory that's worth passing down.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's John Young from 104.9 WXCL, The Wolf. 104.9 The Wolf. You can hear him every morning beginning at 5:30, or I've noticed it's more like 5:40 this week.
Yeah, about 5:40. Yeah. It depends. When you have a computer snafu as early as I did this morning, it's
I had that same one.
Playing catch up.
And his co-host is Jamie, and they are on every morning, Monday through Friday, so be sure to check them out. And to check out Airplay at PeoriaLife.com on Facebook, also Peoria Life's YouTube channel, and of course, Channel 17, Peoria TV on the i3 broadband system. Until next time for Airplay, it's Scott Wheeler.
PeoriaLife.com